All right, well, the crowd is rolling in. I feel like that this is a good time for us to get started, even though I know I said 10:05, but I'm very, very, very happy to be having the discussion. It took almost a month and a half for me to put this event together. And so I'm very, very excited. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Raquel Wilson. I am the proud program manager here at Foster Immediate Connections for the Youth Voice program. I am also a former foster youth who has experienced homelessness and juvenile justice. So my overall goal since coming into this role has been to create opportunities for us, by us, to help not only grow the job skills of the foster care youth community, but just to inspire them and show them, because I am not a survivor. I basically feel like I just did what anybody was supposed to do if they wanted to be successful. And although I don't feel quite as successful as I want to be, I'm happy that I'm able to have this position and this role in this platform to be able to, create spaces like this so that we can safely have conversations and bring awareness to situations and experiences that we had, especially as foster youth who may have experienced homelessness or juvenile justice. And so again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to our panelists. I'm very, very excited. So yes, let me just tell you guys a little bit about the Youth Voice program. And so the Youth Voice program is a very, very unique program. I love working here at Foster Immediate Connections. Our program provides writing opportunities to young people who have lived experience within the child welfare system and juvenile justice system. We also advocate for those who have experienced homelessness. And that is something that, could always be like a spinning revolving ball if you have been in foster care. And so through our different workshops, our different webinars, I've created different roles so that youth who are interested in journalism could come on as college students and take a curriculum course. And so we just provide so many different opportunities for foster youth, current and former, to just literally tell their story, feel inspired. And my overall goal is to create a diverse community of powerful people that can empower and, help pull others up. And so I'm in this role, it's fairly new. Well, I don't kind of feel like it's new. I'm going on my second year, but I feel like every day I'm trying to create something new to do. And so I'm very, very excited to, tell you guys about the Youth Voice program. And so I have a survey, and this survey is just to see. Well, I don't know why it's not letting me pull it up. Hold on, give me just 1 second. Well, I'm hoping that our survey let me pull it up, but it's just 2 questions. Let's see why it's not letting me pull my survey up. Oh, here we go. And so you guys will see the survey pop up on your screen now. And this is anonymous, and this is just so that we know, how did you hear about Foster Immediate Connections, and what are you associated with in regards to being a current or former foster youth, a caregiver, a social worker, or if you're a program advocate, please let us know in the chat. We want to know, how did you find out about this event today and hear about the Youth Voice program? All right. And we're going to conclude the survey. And let's see, we have a lot of diverse different people on the call. I'm happy to hear that you guys heard about us through email blast or word of mouth, which is really, really good. And so just thank you guys again for being here. Welcome, Alicia. Welcome, Alicia. We're happy to have you. You are just in time. We just ended our survey, and we are going to now introduce our wonderful panelists. And so I'm going to just ask our panelists to just wave. I'm going to read their bios real quickly, real briefly. And so I'm just going to ask them to wave, come on camera, say hi, unmute yourself and say hello. And so I'm going to start with Jawan. And so Jawan was raised in Chicago and he now lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota currently. He is a former foster youth who was in foster care from 14 to 18. And then he was in extended care until 21. He attended, and I know I'm going to mess this up, but he attended Hen Penn Tech for computer technology. I'm hoping I said that correctly. And he plans to make a difference by creating preventive plans for foster care, as well as use his experience to help others use their stories to motivate them, especially when they're in their downfall. So Jawan, just say hello to everyone and thank you for being here as a panelist. We appreciate you. And then so next we have Exandra, who is from San Diego, California. She was in foster care at the age of 6 and until she aged out in San Diego County. She attends currently Moreno Valley College, where she plans to transfer to San Diego State to pursue her master's in social work. And she also plans to work in public policy as it relates to social welfare established within her own practice. And so, Exandra, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you for agreeing to be a panelist. And so next we have Alicia, who is from Sacramento, California, Bay Area. She was in foster care briefly as an infant, re-entered in foster care from 14 to 21, has experienced both homelessness and juvenile incarceration, is currently attending Sacramento State, will start in the fall. So good. Congratulations to you, Alicia. And with her lived experience, she wants to motivate young people everywhere. She wants to help them see the light at the end of the tunnel in all difficult situations. And so, Alicia, thank you so much for being here. And lastly, we have Javon. And Javon is the Executive Director of the California Coalition for Youth and the Director of Youth Engagement with the children, with the California Children's Trust. And so he has dedicated 16 years of his life to serving passionately and compassionately to improving and empowering the lives of Californians' most vulnerable youth population. Javon serves as an appointed member of all sorts of different committees, and he's also a former foster youth who has experienced homelessness as well. And so, Javon, thank you so much for agreeing to be here. I appreciate you. Thank you. And so, yes, the part that everyone's been waiting for, well, at least I know I have. I'm extremely excited to get into the topic of discussion, which is in mental health. And so I am just going to, I like to run the discussion part as just an authentic, way of design. And the overall goal of the discussion is to empower and inspire someone out there in the audience. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So I'm just going to ask everyone to share a little bit about their experience. I know I just read your bios, but to share a little bit more about your experience in foster care, dealing with homelessness, dealing with juvenile justice, and why you guys feel like having these type of discussions are important. And we can start with the Javon or Jay, since you were already unmuted.
Oh, sorry, I'll go. Hey everybody, I'm Jay. So to kick it off where just really quick, I grew up in Chicago. So I had experience, I didn't go into foster care until I was 14. So I had experience through all of the abuse, the trauma, everything. It's kind of, it all was very prevalent. And of course I had memories of it when I went into foster care. So I remember everything. It wasn't a situation like I didn't know my family or any of my situation before. So just being in Minnesota, being a Black male, in foster care at the age of 14, it was very, very difficult to find placement. I was at first from shelter to shelter to shelter before they finally found a placement. And when they did find a placement, I was staying with a Caucasian lady, an elderly lady. She was about high 60s, probably early 70s. So this was totally out of place for me growing up in, on the south side of Chicago, and then moving to a big city, and everything. It was kind of a big change in just, how life, was, going to family events and just even going to school to register, things like that, just walking around with this Caucasian lady. I always felt out of place. I always felt out of place during holidays, um, and things like that. And I begged my social worker to please find me someone that looked like me, someone who related to me. They found a Black single woman, who ended up taking me in for the last 2 years or year and a half. I was in foster care. I graduated high school a little bit early. But this lady, once again, it always amazed me that they never found me a two-parent home, which would have been, I feel like, the best thing to do, being a Black man trying to just figure out how to live, how to grow, how to, transition into adulthood. I had really no direction, and there were things that, don't get me wrong, women are capable of doing just as many things as men, but there are things that a young man needs, as far as mentorship from a man, and I didn't have that. So, just growing up, once I got into adulthood, I kind of realized like the resentment that I had towards women, just the way that I would go about relationships, the way that, it was things that kind of, it affected me and I didn't even know it until I really sat down, a few years back and really, took a look at my life and took a look at a lot of the patterns that were going on. And I realized that, why those were created and how those were created. Um, but, you know, I don't know if I got to the gist of it. I don't want to go too far into, talking before we get to, other questions or anything. So I'll just leave it there for now. But I'm so happy to be here and, be able to share my experience, with you guys.
Thank you, Jay. We are happy to have you as well. And so I'm gonna spin that same question over to Alicia. And so Alicia, just share with us a brief, briefly about your background, and why you think that having mental health type of discussions like these are important.
So I entered foster care the second time when I was about 14. And like my stepmom had been raising me, my dad was always in and out of prison. So just based off the stuff that she was doing to me, that's why I ended up going back into foster care. And I was on probation as well. So like if I failed a placement, I had to go to juvenile hall, like even if I didn't commit a crime. And after I had failed a few placements in California, it was really hard for me to find placement. So I ended up actually going out of state twice, to just different treatment centers that they had available. And it was hard for me because like my stepmom, she wouldn't even give my family like my information. So pretty much I was just a young teenager, experiencing all this stuff like by myself, and this would be a situation where you really need your support system the most. So that was pretty difficult for me to have to deal with that. And then on top of that, like just like how difficult it was for them to find placement sometimes. Like I remember one time I was literally just in juvenile hall sitting there for 6 months, didn't commit a crime or anything, just sitting there because they couldn't find me a placement, and I'm smart enough to realize that, things that I'm dealing with is no fault of my own. It's because of the way that the system is. So to understand that and be frustrated as a teenager, like all of that stuff definitely affected my mental health. And I think that these conversations are important and necessary because although that these systems the intention may be to help, sometimes it can actually be a little bit worse for a youth. It can make things harder for them. It could cause more trauma in their life. So just things like that. Oh.
Thank you, Alicia. And it's kind of crazy to hear you, share your experiences about like, your stepmom not wanting to like give up your information. And like, I think that is something that needs to like be changed. Like my mom didn't want to give up my social security, my birth certificate. Like I literally had to like petition the court and like almost like have a yelling attack with the judge, because it's like, I want to work. I'm not getting no money from my caregivers. My mom is not giving up my stuff. There's no policies or laws created that say like, when you're entered in foster care, that you have a right to have your social security, you have a right to have your birth certificate, like that. Those things should be, afforded to you, because it's not your fault that you're in placement. And when you don't have those things, it is a hindrance, especially when you're trying to work or go to school. And so it just attests to the fact that that it's not us, that it is the system, because the sad part is that we live in different places. I'm in Southern California, you're up in Northern California, Jawan's in Minnesota, but we're all having the same type of experiences. And it's just unfortunate. And so I'm hoping that, through conversations like these and more conversations that I create, that we can, try to even get some policy change, so that we could start having our, like, even the smallest things that they think don't matter, like our social security card, that those things be afforded to us. So thank you so much for sharing that. That really like, touched a little part of my spirit, because I really can relate. And so, yes, I want to pass the question over to Javon. And so Javon, can you just share briefly with us your experience, and also why you think that having discussions about mental health is important?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for, having me here. First, I was born a crack baby and immediately entered into the system, bounced around while in the foster care system. And at one point when I was 14, before the age of 14, literally going through, mental health institutions, having to go through IEPs and, special education, and always having to feel that I was worth more and having to endure less of what I felt that I was worth. And so as I, navigated my way and also had to be pushed through the foster care system from this caregiver to that caregiver, there was trauma that was experienced that still bothers me. But, one of the things that have been important to me today is really having my anchor. I'm a man of faith and really using that to push my way through. And so having to have gone through the foster care system from, being a crack baby to having to experience homelessness at the age of 14, and then having to go through shelters and then go through group homes. It definitely was different, just like Jawan spoke about going to different school events and having people who don't look like you handing over your paperwork and having to compartmentalize that so that you can get the best of that experience that you possibly can. And today, really being in a position where, I went through the foster care system and exited and went straight to college to be a janitor so that I could have a roof over my head, to having to find placements for myself and roommates who didn't even know how to live life, but didn't understand that my housing was most important to me, and having to navigate all those things. I got engaged in advocacy work, and that helped to bring others so that I knew that I wouldn't be alone. And when it came to, again, the mental part of it and moving forward, because, just like, Raquel has said, it's kind of like life. This was our life. This is what we had to push through. And having mentors, having peers, having, professionals, and having people that, one, believed in you, believed that you can do great things, and also provide you with opportunity really helped to sustain my mental health from having to, at moments snap and, it increase kind of having to go back into a different type of facility that doesn't necessarily support you in a loving way. And so mental health is really important. I do this work to really provide young people with the opportunity to sustain and build up their resiliency so that they know that they're capable of anything. They know that they're loved, and they know that, one, there's resources and people out there that really care to see them succeed in the way that they see themselves succeed. And so I'm happy to be here, happy to share and dive into the discussion of why mental health is important, and using my story as leverage that the young people and the caregivers and the professionals in the room, that y'all feel that our stories is a way to leverage an understanding of you are pivotal in these young people's lives and getting them to succeed and move and transition into where they see themselves succeeding and excelling in life.
Thank you, Javon, for that powerful answer. Like, for real, I was over here just grinning, like, yes, because no, like, for real, it's hard. Like, it's really hard. And then, like, just having to transition to hear you talk about the different homes that you have been in. Like, I know the number. Like, I lived in foster homes, group homes. I've lived in 33 foster homes. I literally can attest to one of them being good. And I still have a relationship with this person till this day. I speak very highly of her. But out of 33 homes that I lived in from the age 5 to 8 and from the age 14 until I emancipated, only one of them actually served me, and benefited, and supported me in a way that was prosperous to my overall development and growth. And so, it's just very unfortunate. And I always like to create spaces like this because, now 9 times out of 10, when I was growing up, there's program. And one of the things I used to always ask, like, social workers, advocates, like, do you have lived experience? Because, it's easy to tap someone on the shoulder, rub their back and be like, I understand what you're going through. But it's like, do you understand what I'm going through? Like, are you like, they don't know how to comb my hair. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this foster parent is hiding her boyfriend in the room. And when y'all leave, this man's coming out and he's sneaking in my room, like, and just like these different experiences that, this system, and then they create like this, where like you were with your family, they were gonna like, you were no better there. And it's like, sometimes I wonder if I was better off with my mom and my dad, my biological family. Like, would I have experienced it? I know for a fact I wouldn't have had experienced sexual abuse. Like, I know for a fact that wouldn't have happened. And so to me, just having these powerful conversations where we can share our stories and help somebody else. Like, literally, if I can just help one person, I feel like my job is done. But then I got to keep waking up and keep going. And so I appreciate you for, creating this, being in a platform where you felt like, and you saw that there was a need. You wanted to use your lived experience, because literally that's what my overall goal is. I want to see us in these roles that's advocating for foster youth, because we are the ones that have actually lived it. We are the ones that actually know what it does to our mental health, what it does to our psychological behavior, our experiences, like, and so I really, really appreciate you guys for answering the question. And so let's get specific in regards to mental health. And so as it relates to the foster care system, if you have experienced juvenile justice, and as some of you have shared, or homelessness, as you guys have shared, specifically, how do you think mental health impacts or affects, and then I say infect because it is like a disease. How does it impact? How does it impact our community? And Joanne.
So to jump into that question, that's a big question. Really, I would say, so for me, like, just to relate it back to like juvenile, like, system, how Alicia, you were talking about how like you had to be on probation and stuff. Like I had a probation officer because I was angry. You know what I mean? I was angry. I was an angry kid. Like after going through sexual trauma, you know, physical trauma and all that stuff, remembering that, going through that with my family, right? So and then I get snatched away and I'm put into this just weird circumstances. I'm switching schools every couple of weeks. I'm going to every different shelters, all of this stuff. And then I'm placed with this woman who looks nothing like me. Um, if you take a look from my perspective, I think you'll be angry too. You know, so it's like um I was, you know, I had a probation officer. They gave me a probation officer just because of the fights and everything I would get into and all of that stuff. So I guess that person was there to keep me in check, which I look at it now and it said, you know, I say like, you know, that probably was the best thing for me because it did keep me out of trouble and keep me on the narrow. However, once I got older, um, and I left the foster care system when I graduated high school, I didn't necessarily leave. I was getting a stipend every month because I was going to school, and then I left school and went to the military. But I had this pattern of when I left foster care of I noticed I was moving so much. I kept making so many different plans. I went from school to the military. After the military, I went and just lived in St. Cloud, didn't really do too much. You know, and then from there I fell into, you know, messing with drugs and, you know, went down a kind of a dark road there, you know, then had a kid. But when I took a step back and I looked at my entire life, I realized like I had no stability. And this is where a lot of that was stemming from, was me trying to find some sort of stabilization in life. You know, everybody says home is within your heart and all of that stuff, but like I've never experienced what home felt like. So that's what I was trying to experience, getting into relationships, trying to, you know, have kids at a young age, um, you know, just various of behaviors that to me, it was normal. To other people, it may not have been. Um, Another thing that I want to touch on is like the amount of therapy that I was forced into. I never wanted to go to therapy while I was in foster care because those were requirements by the court. So the court was telling me that I had to go get help with my mental health. And to me, that just wasn't okay. I felt like I should have had the voice to say if I wanted to go to therapy or not. So when I would go to therapy, I was just defiant. I wasn't using therapy for what it needed to be used for, but I wasn't ready for that point yet. And a lot of kids are forced into that point where they're forced to sit down and talk to a person once again who looks nothing like them, who relates nothing to them. And this person is supposed to tell you how to fix your problems, right? And then they, you know, I was on all of this medication. I had so much medication. It was ridiculous how many medications I know Raquel, you said 33 different foster homes, but I probably tried 33 to 40 different medications, you know, between antidepressants, anti-anxieties, medication for PTSD, all that. I was on all of these pills, and when I left foster care, I said, "Screw all of those pills. I don't want to take any of this stuff. I've been forced to take this stuff. Like, if I didn't take it, I was somehow getting threatening with probation, with my probation officer, and it's just like." I just wanted to leave all of that alone. Well, when I started going down the road of drugs, that's what that led to. Now I realized that it was just self-medication. I found pills, but you know, it was pills that I was buying off the street that, hey, I'm gonna go to the doctor. They're gonna, you know, try another 20 different drugs before they figure out which one is for me. So look, I got a pill that could do this and I got a pill that could do that, you know, and that led me down such a dark, depressing road. And it was almost something that I felt like I had to experience to get to where I'm at today. But it's nothing that I would want to wish on anyone. Um, it was very hard to get out of those habits. It was very hard to um, understand who I was. self-identity was a huge problem. Trying to look in the mirror and convince yourself that you're beautiful every day, like that was something I just could not do until I was about 22, 23 years old, you know. But all that to say, like, I feel like the mental health piece of it definitely, it's a lot of people view our emotions as anger, and they say, why are you so angry, or why are you this way, or why are you that way? And like, one thing that I learned is that I was never angry. Okay, angry is just a secondary emotion. Okay, I was hurt, I was sad, I was um frustrated, I was tired, like I was just having all of these other emotions, but I never knew how to identify, because one thing that I never learned was vulnerability. I always learned to survive. So my whole life has been based upon survival, and um, trying to learn and create vulnerability as a man is a lot difficult to do, because it should be instilled as you as a child. But see, this was something that, where I'm from, you know, being vulnerable can get you really hurt. Being in foster care, being vulnerable can get you really hurt in multiple ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. It could get you hurt. So I've always just learned to protect and survive. And vulnerability has been probably one of the greatest gifts that I have picked up on and learned within the last few years. And I try to, you know, instill that in my child, now that I have a child. But yeah, that's just a little bit of what I got to share. I could talk about mental health all day. It's something that I deal with on a constant basis. It's a never ending battle, and it's probably never going to end. It's just about how you maintain it. So yeah, I'll pass on that.
All right. Thank you, Javon. It really leaves me speechless, because it's like, it's incredible to hear like all of the different stories, the different experiences. Like, I've had I as a 31 grown woman, I can't swallow pills, because they used to force pills, try to give us psychiatric pills when we were in group homes, and I used to tuck them under my tongue and like spit them out like afterwards. But I used to be able to, like, I if it was like a Guinness World Record holding like for holding pills like in your mouth undetected, like I used to be able to do that. And they used to, like, when they caught on to me, I used to be able to like tuck them in my cheek. And it's just so crazy that, like, you know, they express you or think that like you're angry. Like, they try to put me in like the class for like the kids who underperform, but I had like one of the highest GPAs in the school, so they immediately had to pull me out because I'm testing well on all these different STAR tests and these different school tests. But y'all got me in the class for behavioral issues, because you guys are saying that I'm angry, but nobody's asking me, you know, why I'm angry, why I'm coming to school, why I'm angry and I'm coming to school. They don't know that I got to walk across the street on lunch to go wash my clothes at the wash house. They don't know that, you know, like just all of these different things that I was going through. And I don't want to get into it, but Javon, I want to pass the question over to you, and then Alicia, you can hop right in after Javon finishes. So the question is, specifically, what in regards to mental health, how do you think that it impacts foster youth, especially those who have been in the juvenile justice system or have experienced homelessness?
So, you know, as y'all have heard from Juwan, and you're going to hear from Alicia, you just heard from Raquel, you know, the pills experienced, endured, the abuse, sexual, physical, mental, experienced, endured, overcome. And, you know, one of the things that, like, for instance, like exciting opportunity here in California is something called like the First Hotline, which is an opportunity where, you know, if a young person is experiencing some type of mental health crisis, where they can call somewhere, right? they can have somebody come out to support. But for me, and listening to Juwan and you know, being an executive director and having a crisis line myself, it's not even about all of that, right? When we talk about a young person coming into the system, not having the love that a child needs. When I think about my daughter, she's 3, she has tantrums, she cries. Yes, I tell her, yeah, you want to continue crying, you can go to your room. But I guarantee you, when my child leaves her room, she can come to me, sit on my lap, sit on the couch, and get a hug, and we could talk it out. The system does not perform as a true parent. That is missing. And so when it comes to mental health, having someone that look like you, that have lived experience, is a way of getting a hug without getting a hug. Because when you're looking across from someone who don't look like you, who ain't got, they there for their job, there's a disconnect. And when you go through a system as a child without parents, and someone assumes the position of being a parent, love is supposed to come with that. Unfortunately, we have too many thousands of kids who are in our system who don't get hugs every day, who don't even have the opportunity to literally have someone comfort them in silence. They can't cry without being assumed to be defiant, to be just having behavioral health issues. Crying is something. I'm raising children right now, and I don't know how to do it because I don't have the best of examples. Foster care system is a no. My biological parents is a no. And so I have to literally pray day in and day out that I get it right day in and day out, because that's what I'm willing to put into caring and loving on my children. The system needs to set up, because we know the hugs ain't coming. We know the telling a young person I love you ain't really coming. We hope that it is. We're trying to build it to be that. We hope that we're able to have that one placement where we have that relationship that'll carry into our future. And we know that impacts that person's capacity, both on the job side of things, on the individual side of things, on their educational, professional pursuits. But when it comes to mental health, it is pivotal, because it's a part of the milestones that children have to go through. Children learn how to say no, and you're like, yes, they say no. You say yes, they say no. That's child development. It would be irresponsible of me to say, well, my child is saying no too much, I'm about to go ahead and put a pill in that child's mouth. When love and time is important, we build programs, systems for kids that we say ain't ours, but we've assumed the position. They've assumed, they took on the job, the responsibility to care for the children. And I'm passionate about this because I know that it's been so long that we're gonna have to endure this in reshaping how we care for our children. California in itself is at the bottom tier of caring for our children. And we're one of the wealthiest places on the planet. So we have work to do, and mental health is important for our foster youth, our current, former, those experiencing homelessness, juvenile injustice, and it starts with a relationship. And CBOs and other agencies have people who, I'm just going to say, give a damn. And even go further than that and just want to love. So I'll end there and pass it over to Alicia.
Yeah, similarly to what everyone has said so far, just the pushing medicine on the youth was huge. Like, I was never the type of person to ever take medicine growing up, never had any diagnosis or anything like that. I actually used to play basketball, and that was a very good outlet for me. But it's like as soon as I entered the foster care system, it was just like one evaluation, and now I had to take this medicine, and I was on probation. So they do put that as a requirement. So it's like if you don't do that, then you can literally go back to juvenile hall. So I think that's a huge thing. And seeing that literally every other person in my group home was going through the same thing, like that was just protocol. Like, we're not going to find any kind of natural route. We're just going to force this medicine. And later, as I got older and I also decided I didn't want to take that stuff, I did a little bit of research on it. And I realized that they don't even have like long-term research to justify giving these pills to young adults whose brains are not even fully developed. So we won't even know like the full, just how much that really did affect us, having to take these pills, and then those of us that chose not to take them anymore, just quitting them, that's not really good either. So just all those things, like I'm sure that adds up. And I think my number one thing with it would just be like, it's kind of like you're just putting a Band-Aid. Well, just I can speak for myself specifically. I can't speak for anyone else. For me specifically, I felt like the medicine was just putting like a Band-Aid over what was really going on. I think it would have been nice to not have that happen, like actually try to work through what was really going on. And luckily I did have therapy as an option, and I'm actually grateful that I did go to therapy. I think it did help somewhat, but also, the way that mental health does affect this community, I think that there are certain situations that happen in these group homes, the juvenile justice system, anything like that, that actually causes more trauma. Even that's not the original intent. There were situations that did happen, and you're supposed to be getting cared for, and it just kind of actually added more trauma to what I was already dealing with. And also similar to what Javon was saying, we're already in a vulnerable place. We've already gone through a lot, and I think just not having family and not having like that support system besides staff, and they do have to keep a professional relationship with us. Like, I felt alone a lot of the times. I felt like I was going through all of this stuff alone. I felt like I was really being punished for something that I knew wasn't my fault. So just having to cope with that and navigate that by myself as a young woman, like that was hard within itself. And, just doing my best to deal with that and to even understand it, being so young and trying to make sense of everything that I was feeling and going through on my own, like that was hard within itself. And I think that a lot of that stuff I did hold in as a young adult all the way into my adulthood. And so back in like 2018, I started having like panic attacks out of nowhere. And I never had that before. So I was like freaking out. But I think that just goes to say that some young adults, they just hold in so much and they're not able to release it, that it just stays there until one day your body is just like, I've had enough. Like, I literally cannot keep dealing with this, and it forces us to have to face those problems head on, which I'm grateful for it. It's part of my testimony. I believe that everything happens to me for a reason, but this is just stuff to be aware of. Like, some young youth that you might be caring for or advocating for, they might be dealing with stuff just like this.
I appreciate your answer, Alicia. You guys, y'all really just been hitting it right on the nail. Like, and it's touching, to my spirit, really, because I can relate. Like, I literally can relate, and I can't stress it enough that it's just unfortunate that I've never lived in no foster home, no group homes with any of you guys. And somehow, some way, we've all kind of been able to connect through our lived experiences. And that's why communities like this is important. And so in regards to PTSD, because I heard you talk about, Alicia, about panic attacks. I have like really bad anxiety attacks. I've actually learned to breathe through breathing techniques, learn how to control like not passing out. Like, I used to pass out like when I think about certain things that like scare me. And I think that all plays into like, you know, me just like I experienced sexual abuse when I was in foster care as a young child and when I was in high school. And so I feel like that definitely played into, you know, my mental and how I like see the world and how I like communicate with people effectively. And like, even now I'm still learning how to just like, you know, be better as a mom now. Like, you know, I'm scared, you know, that I'm going to make mistakes constantly. Like Christmas is coming up and I'm like, you know, trying to just go all out my way because that is an important holiday to me, because I remember being in those homes where it was Christmas presents up under the trees, but they was for their kids, not for me, because I wasn't a part of their family. And even though they were getting paid for me, I didn't even know that foster parents made money off of us until I was 17 years old. And I seen a check with my name on it and I opened it up and I was like, wait, what? So I think that all of these experiences have definitely played into my PTSD, you know, trauma. And I want to ask you guys, how did you manage your mental health and overcome, you know, if you have had dealings with PTSD and your trauma, how did you manage your mental health during, you know, those times? And how are you managing now? Because, you know, even as a grown-up adult, even though those things happen, sometimes I find myself still living in that 16, 17-year-old Raquel mindset. And, you know, and I'm, you know, trying to outgrow or unlearn those behaviors that I use as protective mechanisms so that, you know, I'll be able to survive in the world. And so, yeah, I'll start with you, Javon.
For me, you know, and during that time and during my time now, I rely heavily on love. I can't stress that enough. And love comes in many shapes and forms, and it's hard. It's real hard because, you know, one of the things where I know someone has shown that love to me is when they love me in my worst times. They love me when I'm acting a fool. And they say, look, I love you. I ain't about to deal with the drama right now. I'm here when you know, want to talk, I'm here. And I built relationships, strong relationships to where, you know, I can call up my best friend and be like, yo, I'm about to snap. And he'll be like, tell me about it. He'll give me that time. Or when I call a person who literally, when I was 13 and wilding out and literally having to do community service or, you know, going to the juvenile, you know, detention center, and I can call them up and say, yo, I got a question. I need some help. To this day. Or the person who literally supported me out of experiencing homelessness, who was my high school psychiatrist. And I can still call her to this day. Granted, you know, laws couldn't have that contact, you know, back then, but knowing that she kept checking in on me, right, the legal way, showed me that there was a immense amount of care, and I took it as love. So relationships has truly gotten me to this point where I can call somebody up and have that conversation with them. And even a therapist that I did reluctantly, I was forced to talk to, didn't really talk to him, but I can call him up and be like, yo, you remember that time? I just want to talk real quick. And I can do that. So the relationships in my life helped. And of course, you know, the breathing, the walking outside. One of my pleasures is having a good meal, something I like, sushi. Ooh, let's get it. But, you know, other than that, really relying on loving relationships.
I love that. And I'm a sushi girl myself. I love that. Alicia, how would you answer the question in regards to your PTSD, being trauma impacted, and how that affected you, and how how you managed it back then, and how you're managing it now?
The way that I was able to really manage it as a youth was like, so when I was in juvenile hall, and sometimes it was like a long time of me just being in there, I actually used books. I read like 5 to 6 books a week. I loved it so much because for that brief moment in that book, like I was really able to literally escape my reality, you know? Um, I could just get lost in the characters, and I didn't have to think about like, oh, I'm just stuck in this room. You know, I had to think about any of that. So I really started to love reading. I would read literally any type of genre. So that was pretty good for me. I'm also an artist, so like I would draw. That would help me a lot. Um, Coloring, writing a little bit. I do like to write a little bit, poetry, stuff like that. So that also helped me as well. Um, Sports definitely help. So any kind of like physical activity would help me out. Um, those are the type of things that I would really do as, you know, like a youth. As I got older though, one of the main things I would say that really helped me was like my spirituality slash my faith. Um, I started that journey back in 2018, and I really think that that literally like saved my life. So I'm so grateful for that. Um, and I do put self-care as a priority in my life, you know, things that make me feel good, whether it's taking a bath or going and getting a Starbucks when I've just had a hard day. Or I'm not gonna lie, I'm the type of person, I think that retail therapy is a must. So if I feel like I had a bad week or something, or I want to reward myself, I'm gonna go shopping. So that's definitely another thing that helps me. Um, Also, you know, to touch on what Javon was saying, important relationships, something that has really helped me. And it's been kind of hard, you know, I'm 23, so this came with time, but learning to cut off people in my life that didn't make me feel good. Um, I'm very in tune with energy, so the way that you make me feel or the way that I feel around you, definitely I pay attention to that and I act accordingly. And so keeping people around me that, you know, make me feel good, but also, you know, the reciprocation is there because I think one thing that I found in my adulthood, I was low key like a people pleaser. And so I would keep around people that it wasn't necessarily an even exchange. So I had to definitely work on that. And now I'm happy with the relationships that I have formed. And I do have people to call on, you know, when times are hard or when I just feel like venting. So those type of things help. Also, you know, going for a walk, and just checking in with myself like daily, you know, how am I feeling? What am I going through? Just different stuff like that. But also, I just started with a new therapist, so I'm really excited about that. She's certified in like brain tapping, which is a way to bring up all your trauma and work through that. So that's something that I'm very excited about. And I'm ready to just heal from that and to release that and to just move on from that part of my life. So I'm very excited about that.
Thank you, Alicia, for your answer. No, and the books is definitely something that helped me get through. Is shout out to the probation officer at Silmore Detention Center in California who bought me books because she knew I was different and I wasn't supposed to be there, even though I was there. That definitely you know, help inspire, you know, and cultivate the reason why I like to write and share my story. And so I really appreciate that. So before we jump into the post evaluation and audience questions, I have one last question and we can keep it really brief. I want to ask you guys, and I'll even start it off, if there is one person out there in the community that's either in this audience, and this is being recorded, so if somebody is going to rewatch this webinar and you could touch the soul or the heart of one foster youth, one current youth, current foster youth that's in the system right now or already out the system, that's dealing with the effects of mental health, not able or sure how to manage, what would be that, you know, one piece of advice that you that you would give them? And I'll start it off just to, get the ball going. My one piece of advice would be to empower somebody. Use your story, share your story, talk about your experiences out loud, hold people accountable for the things that they did to you. Even if that means speaking, sometimes I speak negatively about the system, but that's because I had a negative experience. That doesn't mean that everybody, every social worker is bad because I had bad social workers, or every caregiver is bad because I had, a bad caregiver. But also allow people to be human, allow people to love you. Don't allow your abandonment issues to keep you to hold on to people who have toxic, energy or don't mean well for you. And also mean well for yourself. Love yourself, take care of yourself. Don't be afraid of therapy. And so that's what I have as my final thought to end the discussion. And I want to turn the floor over to you guys to share your final thought as well.
Can I answer the last question? Or
yeah. Oh yeah, sure. You sure can.
Yeah, sorry, I got skipped on that one. But I was for me, I would say like what I do is I write, but more or less writing, like I just like I remember that the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. And I live by that saying every day. I try not so much to dwell on the past, because if you keep dwelling on the past, that's how you're gonna crash. Yes, sometimes good to take a look back at it, see where you came from, all the obstacles you overcame, but you got to stay focused and looking forward. And that's what I try to do every single day that I look at my son. He's a reflection of why I work so hard on myself for personal growth and for striving to be a better person and a great man every day. Because my son, I don't want him to ever experience not even a quarter of things that I did. I know I can't protect him from the world, but I could protect him, as best as I can, better than I was protected. And if I could, I guess more or less like have, I don't know, touch one person with this video or this recording of this video, I would say I want to speak to the foster parents. Because a lot of foster parents, I feel like some just do it for financial reasons. Some just do it, it's kind of like the pastor who preaches on Sunday, but, does this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So some people, they don't actually live by the title of a foster parent. I don't have any contact with any of my foster people, my foster team at all, parents, advocates, social workers, anything. So, you got to think how that affects a person. I remember I left school and went to the military because I was just so embarrassed over holiday break when everybody got to go home and see their families and everything. And I was the only kid left on campus trying to put together Thanksgiving by myself, for myself. So yeah, just really think how it affects the kids and try to keep their relationship even after they age out. Even if you don't want to be their parent or be a parent figure, like sometimes it's good to even reach out and say, hey, are you okay? How are you doing? Because through this whole conversation, one thing that came to mind is I wonder how much different my life and experiencing care would have been if somebody would have just asked me, what is the issue? What's wrong? I just thought about this. I can't think of one person during that time who asked me, what's wrong? What's going on? It was always everybody had a solution to a problem that they thought was going on. So thank you for letting me share. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jay. I know you got to go because you're at work. I really, really appreciate you for being a part of this discussion. Javon and Alicia, if you don't mind hanging on, because I know we have like some audience questions. But Jay, just thank you so much. There was some questions in the audience for you specifically. I want to just ask you this one question before you leave, because they asked this and I thought it was really good. Because both of you guys, Javon and Jay, Jawan, you both shared about, living in homes where the people didn't look like you. There's a caregiver in the audience who is a white male who fosters Black boys, and he wanted to know if he was doing something wrong by doing that, which I don't necessarily think that it's wrong, but no. My is just understanding and really taking time to understand the culture, really taking time to, if I had that like one white woman who was my foster mom that actually, went in, like learned how to do Black girl hair, I probably would have had a better experience than her taking me to, a white salon and them perming and making my hair fall out. And so I want to give you guys the opportunity to answer that question before you leave.
Yeah, so really you just hit that right on. My thing is, it's never about the color of anybody's skin. I got a kid who's biracial, right? So love has no identity. And I understand that you could be loved from the most unexpected people. However, I have a mentor who is a white male, and he's done more for African American kids than I've seen any African American male do for African American kids. So, with that being said, like you were saying, Raquel, it's about the concept of someone really taking the time to engage and learn and implement your culture into their way of life, and involving you. If you're gonna foster African American children and learn about their culture, learn about them, love them for them, and not just because it looks good, and that doesn't matter what color you are. There aren't enough Black people stepping up to raise, Black foster youth. It's more of us than them in a way. So what, one thing that I've definitely also learned is sometimes it's just good to even put someone in their life who is a role model, who looks like them, whether that's taking them to get mentored or finding them a sport that has a coach, just somebody that looks like them that can mentor them. Because the truth about it is, a lot of times we come from different walks of life and we see different perspectives and we experience things differently. My experience as a Black man in America is totally different than the experience of a white man in America. So it's very hard for a white man to teach me how to handle things that they don't go through. So like I said, love them and try to put someone in their life who does perhaps look a little bit more like them, who can help mentor them.
Thank you, Jawan. Jawan, did you want to answer that question? I kind of feel like he hit the nail on the mark, but I want to make sure I give you his, time to do as well.
Jawan got it. Everything Jawan said is what I would have said. I loved how he said, love has no identity, and it's true. And when it comes to raising a Black man, right, sometimes you have to, one, be willing to be open to kind of checking your bias, checking other people's bias, being willing to stand in front, and also letting the young person lead when it comes to how they're enduring, moving, navigating the world, and being willing to have that patience in that space. And, ditto to everything Jawan has said in regards to, one, being confident in knowing that you're not doing it wrong, that you're doing it right, that you're stepping up for these children, for these young men who need a male figure, a father figure in their life. And so let love conquer. And when you let love conquer and you do it right and add that patience to it, I'm excited that those young men are in a household where, you know, the parent is questioning, am I doing it right?
I appreciate that. And so thank you. And so I don't think that we're going to be able to get to all of the audience questions because there were quite a few. And I do want to thank everyone out there for asking the questions. We actually have decided to send a separate email answering the questions from the perspectives of everybody so that we can put it in the email to you guys so that, you know, we can kind of continue to flourish this conversation. And so I just want to, I feel like I can get to one question there, or can we do one question? Is that okay with you guys? Let's see here. And so I saw a really, really good one in regards to school. And so during school, someone said, how did you feel supported, or did you feel like school was harmful to your mental health? And just to chime in from my point, school for foster youth is a pipeline to prison in the juvenile justice system. They use school or the lack of and officers in the school to find better ways to integrate us into the juvenile justice system. I do not feel like I was supported as a foster youth on campus. Our principal, down to our people that worked and advocated in our office, didn't even know that I was in foster care, didn't even know that there were even foster youth on their campus. I find in my work, when I reach out to high schools, that the principal and the advocators of the program don't even know what specific students are foster youth. And I think that that's a problem. And so that's just my take on it. I can have a conversation about this all day. We actually have a webinar, which I'm going to be sharing with you guys, where we will be getting into the school to prison pipeline next month. And so, and you guys will definitely see a more aggressive side, because I'm very passionate about that topic as it relates to foster youth being seen as prisoners, even in the group home aspect, and not as human beings, and children who are innocent victims. And so let me not woo, because Lord, y'all have to hold me back. So let me let Alicia and Javon chime in for that last question, and then I'll let you guys know about some of our upcoming events and that we have going on.
I would kind of agree with you. Like, certain schools that I was going to did not even know I was in foster care. The one school I did go to that was local, there was like a foster care advocate person, and he was great, and he did make the experience better. But like, I didn't get any extra help or anything with classes or anything like that. And I was moving probably like every 3 to 6 months. So I was really struggling with like math and science, because those kind of subjects build upon itself. And, you know, I was in different counties, in and out of California, different states. So, you know, the education system is so different everywhere you go, that I really, I didn't really realize how much it really impacted me until I got to college, and I was having to take 3 or 4 or 5 classes just to get to one class to actually transfer. So that made getting my associate's degree really long. But other than that, it was kind of fun for me because I got to escape like being in a group home and stuff like that. So school was fun for me for the most part.
To the school question, I mean, one, school is a challenge being a youth of color, especially as a Black young male in the school system, which I know there's a shift happening. But I know that I'm 32. And so, you know, when I was in school, elementary school was challenging, you know, had that mental institution experience, had my traumatic experiences. Middle school, I don't think I have the number of times I have been suspended while in that phase of my life, and always feeling different. As a story, I remember wanting to go to like the school trip, and they said, well, you have to have specific GPA, and always being told in my life that I was dumb, that I was going to be in jail, dead, or on the streets. Well, yes, I had the experience with homelessness. And so to look at the document and see my name as someone who was eligible was life-changing. And also to have it was literally one or two people that said, Javon, I believe you are capable of more, even things that you may not even think. Like, for instance, I was a conductor of a choir and could have gotten to the point where I could have won Conductor of the Year. But because of the things that I had to endure from taking the medication, being loopy and having physical spasms in class and things of that nature, it was a challenge. And then in high school, still having to be in special education and saying to myself, I know I'm better than this, but I'm still in this box, and wanting to do, sports and not having, my, guardian being willing to, sign off on the papers was challenging. So there were challenges that came about from being in the K-12 system, but even to what Jawan spoke to, even in college, right? There was challenge there from having to figure out where you're going to live during the summer. Because when I exited, there was no AB 12. It was you on your own. You got to go work. You got to find housing, sustain it, and have somewhere to live. So schools do have an opportunity to lift up all students, especially when it comes to youth who are, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, those who have been system involved, and really having, programming available to those students to find them the mentors and the people that care. So, to completely break that school to prison pipeline, because again, I can't count how many times I got suspended, but I can show the degrees that I've been able to obtain because I had people who cared about me and were willing to say, you can do this, we're here to support you. So, with that, specialized programs is essential for youth of, I'm gonna say, vulnerable backgrounds.
Thank you, Javon. I really, really appreciate that. And so I just want to thank everybody for attending this webinar. We are at this time dropping the post evaluation into the chat. And so please, if you are interested in telling us how we did, what we can do better, if you are interested in being a panelist for a future webinar, especially if you're a former foster youth, current foster youth who has lived experience with the juvenile justice or homeless system, we especially want you to fill out this evaluation so that we can reach out to you to see how we can get you to join in on these type of conversations and to be a part of our community. We're also going to be dropping in our newsletter, and then also I'm going to be sending out an email right after this call concludes with all of our different opportunities that we have coming up. We're hosting a school to prison pipeline where we'll be diving in more depth to how school can be harmful to foster youth as it relates to transition them into jails instead of universities. And so I want to talk about that. We have a lot of internship opportunities. We have a lot of contributor opportunities coming up. And so all of this Yes, Javon, all of this stuff will definitely be in that email. And if you want to stay informed in regards to the things that you boys have going on, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you are a current or former foster youth out there that is interested in submitting an op-ed in regards to your experience with mental health, we are now accepting submissions. And if your submission is accepted, it will go on the Imprint website, our news website, and you could earn a stipend for $250 if that happens. And so tons of opportunities available for current and former foster youth, homeless youth, and those with juvenile justice impacted lived experience. Again, I want to thank you all for attending today and being here with us for this powerful discussion. I hope that you really, really enjoyed it. Shout out to all my panelists, Javon, Alicia, Jawan. I was definitely grateful to have you. I'm hoping that you guys will re-engage with me and come back for a future conversation, wherever that next topic or best, best fits, I don't know. But again, thank you guys so much. I'm also going to drop my email in the chat. If you guys would like to reach out to me to ask any questions or would like to just know anything in regards to the program, I am here at your disposal. And so thank you all again for being here today. I really, really appreciate it. It was a beautiful conversation. I want to open up the floor for Jawan, Lisa, if you guys have any final thoughts.
It's just great to have the opportunity. I appreciate it. Sorry, I got a little bit off track at the end. I'm back at work.
No worries. No worries. We understand.
Yeah, it's definitely been a blessing. And I don't know if Javon is still on here, but Javon, I would love to connect with you. I think we got a lot in common, and it's always good to keep that connection amongst us Black men. So
yes, brother, you got it.
Hopefully I'll talk to you soon, brother.
I just wanted to thank you guys all for the opportunity and thank you guys all for being present during this conversation. But thank you especially to the other panelists for your courage and your vulnerability and just being able to share this space with you guys.
I send everybody love. I truly appreciate this opportunity. Again, as Alicia said, thank y'all for being present, for asking those really insightful, heart-provoking, invoking questions. And, please take each day as it comes. We have a lot of work to do, but there is good in the world and you're a part of it. And take the gold nuggets from this conversation to make the world around you and your community better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Javon. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely be connecting, especially for that Prison the Pipeline webinar. We'll definitely be connecting. But again, thank you to all three of you guys. I really appreciate it. This was a great discussion. I'm almost sad that we can't keep going, especially to get to some of the questions that were in the chat. But I promise you that we're going to be able to, we're going to find a way to answer those questions and get them to you guys. So again, thank you so much. God bless everybody on this call. Happy Thursday. And we'll see you at our next event. Goodbye.